I think I'm just starting to realize that I've just stopped being excited about games for a long time ago. And it's not that I don't like gaming, because I do. I do like sitting down and enjoying it and just, diving into a story. But a problem is that for the longest time, I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when it happened. I just stopped getting into that dive. I stopped being able to just really get invested into a story like that. And it's kind of frustrating because you see everyone else be so excited about all these upcoming releases like Elden Ring, Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, everything that's just coming up, and you see them playing and you see them getting so excited about it. And yet here you're just like, well, yeah. Cool. I'll just go back to playing these 3 games that I've been playing for like the past 5 years. And at the same time, you really also don't like playing those games anymore, because maybe at one point you did, but at a certain point, you just stopped enjoying them, but you still play them, maybe because you're afraid of disappointment. Because to be fair, games for the longest times just have been very, very big disappointments. Day one releases are just a joke at this point, right? No one really takes them seriously. And it's like you have to wait months for a game to be playable, and you don't really feel like you want to spend months, and you also don't want to play games day one and have to deal with all those issues either. So it's like every time you try a new game, it's like you're entering a risk of you don't know if this game's going to be very disappointing or it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened either. So at least for me, I feel like I'm stuck in a loop because I don't want to play the new games because I know a lot of them are just going to be trash, or they're just like money sinks in disguise. They're not really meant to be fun. They're made by greedy developers. I just want to take your money. But at the same time, I also feel comfort playing these old games, which are also not making me happy, because at a certain point they just became a distraction instead of just an immersive experience that you want to enjoy. So I've been struggling with getting out of that loop and being able to experience good games, because there are good games out there. And I know that there are good games, but for some reason I've also been afraid to try them. Maybe I've just gotten way too comfortable in my own little loop. It's always RuneScape, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and like Wizard 101 or whatever. And it's like my Steam library is filled with so many good games that I just started maybe like once and never really dove into. I never really got that deep dive Sword Art Online connect to the network experience to actually be able to sit down and enjoy them. It's like every time I open up my Steam library, I just blank out. I just like, my spirit leaves my body and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna play, so I'll just go back to playing the same old stuff I've been playing for the past 5 years, man. And I know a lot of people actually go through that as well. And it's sort of frustrating. It's like there's so many good experiences out there, and you see other people get into them, and you see them playing, and you see them enjoying them, and you watch all the gameplay online, and you're kind of just a bystander at some point. You're just looking into the realm of entertainment and wondering, why can't I join there? What's stopping me from being able to just get all these new releases? So even if you don't know if they're going to be good or not, you still get the chance to dive into a new experience and try them alongside everyone else on the internet who's actually doing it. And what's been happening to me a lot, and I don't know if this happens to you as well, is that whenever a new game gets announced that I really want to play, I will like be super hyped about it. I'll be looking forward to it, and I'll just be like, yes, I'm gonna play this when it comes out, let's go. But as the day of release gets closer, I sort of start losing interest in the game. Maybe I've seen too much footage of it. I've lost interest in it, because that is a real thing, right? One of the ways that you actually lose interest in wanting to play new games is by watching too much gameplay of it, because it's like, why do I want to play the game if I've already seen the story? I've seen all the secrets. I've seen all this stuff. Apart from that being one of the factors that really just turns me off when a game gets closer to release, maybe it's the fact that I'm not really hyped for the game itself. I'm more hyped for the idea of the game that's going to come out instead. Or like the worst part is if I see a lot of critics, even if they're just like unjustified critics online, I'll be like, you see, I knew it was going to be a bad game. I knew it was just trash game. I kind of just like defeat myself, and I kind of defeat my enjoyment for trying out games that have potential to be amazing. And like I mentioned, it's not that I'm afraid of being disappointed by buggy games, because some games do release and they are absolute bangers, and sometimes it's been a week since release and everyone's only talking positively about it, and at that point you would imagine that you're just like, oh wow, it wasn't a day one dud, I can actually go play this now. But even then, I just go like, whatever. Or the other case that happens is that the game releases, I buy it, I play it once, and I'm like, I think I'm done with this. Let me go back to my old and classic ones. And unfortunately, that's not really solving the problem. That's not really solving the problem of me just being out of love. I've fallen out of love with video gaming. So there's a couple of practices that I'm going to start implementing, and I'm pretty sure anyone that wants to try this as well is more than welcome, that I think are going to help me fall back in love with gaming. It's a weird psycho-mental thing that you have to kind of like train yourself to like it, but you have to make sure you train yourself right, because a lot of the time times we grew up with, I don't know, Kirby's Adventure or like Super Mario All-Star or whatever, all these masterpieces that are just good, right? It's like back then, even if their game was bad, our experiences of a bad game were just like so few and far between, for what gaming was back in the day, that it's like everything that they released just felt like a banger. Even if it was just a buggy mess, it just felt like an absolute banger. So it's like back in the day, we were just spoiled with good experiences. Meanwhile, now there's not that many good experiences, right? So for you to be able to fall back in love with gaming, there's a couple of things that you have to do. First of all, you have to cut off your regular games, right? The games that are just sucking the life and time out of you, that you just play just to forget about things. It's like the equivalent of drinking beer or whatever. You just drink to forget. These games, you just play to forget. You just play to ignore the rest of reality, the rest of gaming, all the other stuff that are out there in the world, right? So those games, you kind of just have to drop them. Not permanently, but you just have to limit them, right? You just have to go like, okay, whenever game time is here, I have to purposely not play these games. I have to train myself to play healthy games, healthy experiences that I know are good and that I know will fill me with fulfillment and a rewarding feeling of, wow, this is actually fun. Another thing that's actually going to help you fall back in love with gaming is to make sure you have dedicated gaming time. Because a lot of the time, whenever you want to game, it's just like, well, I'm kind of working, but I need a break from work, so let me just game for 45 minutes and just play whatever quick game I can find and just find fulfillment in that before I have to get back to work. That doesn't really solve the problem. That doesn't do anything, right? So you have to purposely chunk some time just to dedicate to gaming, and you have to make sure you're gaming positive experiences. So you're not playing the regular games, and you also don't want to play Apex Legends or Fortnite or all these games, games that are just designed to make you have to play the same thing over and over and over again, especially when they're just money sinks in disguise. These games are just designed to take the most money out of you as possible because they're, for the most part, designed by developers that really just want to make as much money as possible because they're mega corporations and not just like some of these more indie or smaller developers that, of course, they also want to make money, don't get me wrong, but they just want to give you a good experience. They have a dream for a super cool game that they want you to play, and they just want to sell that to you, and that is a much more healthier experience in my opinion. So you're going to make sure that you take some time specifically to game. You're not going to game your usuals. You're going to plan ahead of time, and you're going to play games that you know are good for you, and they're not made by greedy developers that just give you an addictive experience that's going to end up hurting you in the end or make you feel even more burnt out. So for example, I'm going to take the time to actually sit down and play Hollow Knight, which I know is a tried and true tested game that's actually good. Everyone talks about it, it's amazing, and it's not something that I've actually sat down and seen too much of like gameplay on it, so I'm not really going into it already spoiled with whatever happens in the story. It's a good experience, it's a good exercise, and it's a game that I'll actually be able to have fun in it. And you have your game, whatever that is, that you have had in your Steam library for like the longest time, and you've been ignoring it, and you kind of just been putting it off. You have to find out what that game is for you, and just go ahead and play it. Just dive into it and have fun. And it's kind of like an exercise too, right? Because the first time you chunk time, you might only be able to play it for like 30 minutes. And then afterwards you're like, okay, I'm tired. I don't want to play anymore. But the more you do it, the more used to you'll be to playing it. And it's kind of like exercising or just like going on a walk, all these things that are just like healthy for you and healthy for your mental. It's just like, hey, you want to feel better, you're feeling sad, go for a walk, go exercise, make sure you have a healthy, clean diet, make sure you're drinking water. When you're just not used to that, it's going to be like, fine, I guess I'll go for a walk. Fine, I guess I'll go game or drink my fluids or whatever. But the more you do it, the more you're healthy and the more happy and the more rewarding you feel. And then before you know it, you're going to be looking forward to it because it's something that you've formed a habit around that actually makes you feel good. And it's not that I'm going to drop RuneScape or like Smash Bros. Melee. I will also make sure I make time to play those games, but also recognize that playing too much of that can make me fall out of love with gaming, and I don't want to do that. So gaming in moderation has always been something that's discussed, and now I feel like we have to talk about what type of game you have to play in moderation and what type of game you want to play to make sure that you love the act of gaming. You love games and you love the experiences that you get out of them. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk with you guys. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.